Welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. And this, my friends, is the Thunder Show, AKA the internet's most passionate wine program. And we are here in Virginia. You should clap for your state. Nice. We've got 6 wines in front of me. I'm sitting in a chair that makes me feel like a 3-year-old. So, I know 3-year-olds are not supposed to drink wine, but we're gonna break that rule here today. Plus, it's cozy, and it looks like the Laid Back Friday couch, which is amazing. And it really is cozy. So I'm gonna be back here, Mott, so you're gonna have to work a little bit today. But I'm really excited about this. I think we've talked about Virginia in the past. I think it's one of the states that clearly has an edge over the other 46 as becoming a major player. There's a lot going on here. 130, 140 wineries in Virginia at this point, maybe even a little bit more than that. There's a lot of momentum, and I think there's 2 varietals that have really kind of taken mold, at least in the trenches. When you talk about wine, a lot of people talk about Viognier and Cabernet Franc from these parts. We've got 3 type of those kind of wines, it looks like, totally here. So I'm excited about trying those specifically and to see what's going on with Pinot Gris and the port type wines. Really darn excited. 6 wines, haven't done that many in a while. Today's a very, very big day. That's because at this moment, my New York Jets and star quarterback Brett Favre are preparing to beat down the defending Super Bowl champions. So I'm excited about that. So I'm in a good mood to begin with. So that's a good thing. But then somebody made fun of a Jets bucket, so now I'm in a bad mood. So that means the wines might score a little bit lower. Keep that in mind. Mott, you're going to have to zoom in. Let's see what you got today, buddy. First wine, Grange, which is where we are, by the way, which is beautiful, by the way, which is, if you are from the DC area, a hop and a skip, like 45 minutes away. You need to come and check it out. It's a beautiful scene here. This is their Pinot Gris, the Tollgate Vineyard, 2007 vintage, 12.5% alcohol content, 19 bones, which is the number of Keyshawn Johnson, former great Jets receiver, and 100% Pinot Gris. Now, I do talk a lot about varietal pricing in states outside of the big 3 or 4, and this is another example. 19 bones for a Pinot Gris is pushing the high side, even top Alsatian Pinot Gris with a euro that's kicking our face in, rolling at this price point. So it's pushing a little bit of the envelope. That is an early concern. I know some people are now thinking, is he actually saying that in front of all of us? Yes, I am, because I have to keep it real. That's what I do. So let's give this wine a sniffy sniff. Everybody's wearing a sniffy sniff wristband in the crowd, which is very nice to see. Let's give it a sniffy sniff. What's really fun about this, and you can't see it because Mott's lazy and he doesn't like to pan around, is that a lot of people are tasting along with us, which is a lot of fun. All right, so on the nose. So kind of tight, a little cold. This is why I always talk about room temperature. Why I love it so much is that a lot of people who've watched Wine Library TV realize I'm very big on the bouquet. Anything that can aromatically bring the thunder is already a wine that I'm going to like a little bit more than most people. So when a wine gets a little cold, it's that high school beer syndrome. You can't smell it, you can't taste it. That's why they make it really cold, and which is why I love to taste wine at room temperature, but I didn't say that before and they chilled it, which is fine because that's the reality, and really at some level I should be tasting wines cold because 99.8% of you out there are drinking it that way. Let's give it one more sniffy sniff. Again, kind of tough to smell through, aromatically a little limited. I do get a little tiny hint of acacia flower, which is always fun to find on the nose. I do get a little lemon zest, almost maybe like that lemon peel, the one you find on the top of your espresso that you paid 19 bucks for at Starbucks. Let's give it a whirl. You guys found the exact bucket. It's good work. Did you guys see my new helmet one, though? Yeah. That's sweet, right? It's like a snack thing, but anyway, sorry, focus. Anyway, high acid, which is really nice. I'm always going to look for an acidic white wine. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what most wine drinkers come to, acidity. People are addicted to acid, and in the wine world too. So what's really fun here is this has a lot of that, which is very good because it complements a lot of foods. You'll have the ability to cut through a lot of different fish and things of that nature. Let me give it one more shot. I get a little hint of just a hair of honey, which is nice. It's got medium bodiness. It's a solid Pinot Gris. I mean, the mid-palate is kind of meh. It doesn't like change my world. It's got a nice finish. This is a solid bottle of white wine, but again, here becomes my concern. To me, there's a lot of Pinot Gris from, let's say, Oregon that rolls in between 12 and 15 bones that I think has a little bit more going for it than this wine does. Again, Alsatian Pinot Gris at this price point has the ability to bring a little bit more minerality and a little bit more limestone. So all in all, a solid effort. Definitely, it's funny, you have to put this in reference, excuse me. If you were to serve this Pinot Gris to the majority of wine drinkers across the world and said, what do you think? They'd be like, it's fine. And they would never really guess that it's from Virginia, right? They would just never, ever get this. At the same token, just because it's from Virginia, I can't give it the benefit of the doubt globally on a competitive scale. So it's a very solid bottle. Really that awesome college baseball pitcher, but he's not pitching in the major leagues. Make sense? This is an 85, 86 point type Pinot Gris to my palate, but just remember, anybody in the crowd that's mad at me right now, don't trust my palate, trust your own, and that's the whole game of Wine Library TV, and you need to try different things, and I gotta be honest with you, I'm personally thrilled inside that I just tried a Pinot Gris from Virginia. Thrilled. Let's move on. Now we are going to a wine that I'm very excited about. The Pearmund Viognier 2007 Vinecroft Vineyard, 100% Viognier. Town, sorry about that. 19 US bones, again. And that's where it gets interesting, right? On the global wine scale, Viognier tends to be much more expensive than Pinot Gris from a lot of different producers, whereas this is even priced. And so in some weird way, the Viognier now is a little bit in the value zone. Let's see what's going on here. And again, this is suggested full retail, so with wine discounters and different places out there, it's not as fair as when I do it on Wine Library TV, whereas with Wine Library pricing, these wines could be as much as 20, 30% lower. Let's warm this up just a hair. I like the back label. Think globally, drink locally. That's kind of neat. Let's give it a sniffy sniff. Now this is aromatically far more interesting. I'm excited about what's going on here. A little honeydew comes right on the initial attack and it grabs my nose and says, listen, sucker, I'm gonna bring something. This is nice. There's a little hint of smokiness. Actually, I almost think of this as when you're grilling fish, and then you take the, lemons and you squeeze it. And sometimes I'm just weird. I just throw the lemons on the grill. So it's almost like a smoked lemon component on the nose. If you've never done that, you got to try it. That's what's going on here. I also get a very interesting component of star fruit coming through on the nose, like freshly cut star fruit, which I think is very impressive. Again, going back to classic episode 148. Should we make Mott work? I think so. Mott, link it up. Episode 148, if you've never watched it, a component of how to find things in wines. For me, this is a great opportunity. This wine is screaming. No, I mean screaming star fruit. But how many of you have had star fruit? In this room, 30 so peeps, how many of you had star fruit? Don't lie, raise your hand. I would say about 12 out of 30. So missed opportunity for those other 18, in my opinion. So let's give it a whirl. Mott, good news. We're going to be able to get out of here alive. This is good stuff. This wine has a boatload of fruit flavors. In the beginning, a tremendous mid-palate. Just enough smokiness and complexity in the back end, and a tremendously fresh, crisp, and bright, long finish. Still tasting it while I'm yapping to you right now, and that's impressive to me. I get a very heavy, long melon, cantaloupe kind of thing going on in the back end, which I love. Continued with more lemons and limes, little Sprite action there in the mid-palate, but it's very creamy, has a great density, and continuously I think to myself, gosh, if I could just get 1/40th of the people that drink Chardonnay every day to try one Viognier, the game could change. And this is the kind of wine. This is a game-changing wine. This establishes in my mind, once again, that the rumors are true, that Viognier can rock it in V-Town. This is a very, very good wine. Let me taste it one more time. Without question, rivals the majority of California Viogniers that I've approached recently, but here's where it gets even more interesting. for somebody who adores the Rhone Valley as much as I do, and you start talking about the Condrieu and talk about, the white Rhone varietals, Marsanne, Roussanne, Viognier, to see a wine that has the freshness. That's the difference. I think what you find a lot of time in California is something that's a little flabby, a little on the sides. Maybe you can lose 5 pounds, buddy, kind of thing. This one is lean, mean, Michael Phelps-like. Do you know what I mean? And this wine, in my opinion, brings tremendous thunder. So much so that I'm going to score this wine 91 plus points. And to me, one of the better Viogniers that I've tasted in a while. And you know what? At some level, I'm almost disappointed that I'm here because I have a feeling that some people at home might be, he's being a little soft. You might give him a point or two extra because, he doesn't want to get killed by the crowds. It has nothing to do with that. As a matter of fact, I prefer to pan all these wines and see the shock on everybody's face. This wine brings serious thunder, and if you have an opportunity to find this wine, you need to, because this, my friends, is what under $20 white wine is all about. Let's move on. Okay, let's move to the next one, Mott. How's your zooming in going? I'm just trying to feel, maybe you're slumping a little bit. This way the Giants can follow your path today. Be off a little bit on their game. Not a chance? Rappahannock, 2006, Cabernet Franc, 13.4% alcohol, 77% Cabernet Franc, 22% Cabernet Sauvignon, 1% Petit Verdot. I have a feeling they put that in there to get a higher score for me, because you know what I think about Petit Verdot. 22 bones, and let's see, double deuce. Let's see what's going on here. Little sniffy sniff. Let's do it. Nice aromatics. I get a little bit of that vegetal aspect that I love so much that comes from Cab Franc. Many of you know that I'm addicted to Loire Valley red wines, Cabernet Franc, Bourgogne, Chinons. I just love that style of wine, that vegetables. How many people here consider themselves bigger fans of vegetables than fruit? Raise your hand. There's only like 9 of us every time. It's okay, though. We're going to fight strong. V8 juice for the win. All right, so one more sniffy sniff. You know what I get in this? I get some really nice like broccoli type. Imagine broccoli, like steamed broccoli with just like a shaving of like chocolate, because it gets this like little chocolate cocoa powder component on the back end. I also get some strawberries, which is nice. Not bad. Very nice nose. Solid. Let's give it a whirl. Classic, typical blueprint lunch pail Cabernet Franc. In a blind tasting, you're going to be able to find this if you drink enough Cab Franc. It's bringing all of that cabbage leaf, greenness, little jalapeno pepper without the kick kind of thing going on. It's nice. It's very, very much dry cherry, sour black cherry type thing going on the back end with the long finish. I think if you're a big cherry lover, you're going to like this wine because it's bringing that. I think it lacks a little bit of body that I'd like to see sometimes. It's got good body, but it seems a little disjointed, a little awkward, a little 16-year-old teenager still trying to find its way kind of thing going on, which is fine because it's a young wine. Let me give it one more whirl. It's funny, on that whirl, I felt a little bit on the mid-palate transition to the finish. I tasted almost like a metallic, almost aluminum bat kind of weird thing going on. Do you guys I see some people shaking their head, yes. It's almost like you got into a street fight in Brooklyn and somebody hit you with a bat in the mouth. That kind of thing going on, but it didn't hurt as much. So that's kind of an interesting component dynamic to this wine, which I like quite a bit. All in all, I think even with all those things going for it, it's a solid effort. I wouldn't go crazy over this Cabernet Franc. I think once again, in the back of my mind, I say to myself, there's a lot of $15 to $18 Cabernet Francs that I've had that I've liked better with more density. It's missing a little bit of the black pepper that I'm so fond of in Cabernet Franc. It's just, I don't know, it's like if you're looking to hit home runs, these are all going, every component about this wine, the mid-palate, the finish, the body, feels like, off the top of the wall or, ground rule double, but like a cheap one in Boston where the fence is much closer. To me, this is an 87 plus type Cabernet Franc at 22 bones, a little tough for me to get crazy excited. However, and this is where it gets really interesting, and I've got to really point this out, that's because that's the style that I'm very fond of in Cab Franc, a little bit more extreme. This may, in some way, be a far more popular style And it does have, yeah, see, it has 22% Cabernet Sauvignon. This could be a very good swing wine for a lot of people that are only drinking Cab Sauv, haven't discovered Cabernet Franc, or have tried one and it was too extreme green and vegetal for them. So this could be a very interesting, in the middle there, kind of transition wine, kind of like the way we always want to get people to start with Rieslings and then get into New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, and then 5 minutes later they're drinking Chardonnay, and then 20 minutes later they're drinking big tannic Barolos. This could be a tremendous transition for a Cabernet drinker that's trying to find out about Cab Franc. Not killing me, but serviceable. Let's move on. King Family, 2007 Cabernet Franc, Monticello, 13.4% alcohol content. This is 100% Cabernet Franc, 22 bones. And Ellen and David would like to say cheers. And who else is here? There's all sorts of people. Carrington and Stuart and Kelly and James. There's all sorts of people involved in this thing. I love it. Let's give it a little whirl. Rinse. Let's give it a pour. And let's give it a sniffy sniff. Now, I like the intensity that's coming through on this nose. A little tight, a little closed, but that's fine. Big red wine. I do get a little sense of like topsoil on the nose, which I like quite a bit. There's a lot of fruit coming on here as well. I get a little bit of like that, Boston area cranberry thing. Hate the Patriots, but like cranberries. I also get a little hint of pomegranate, which I'm fond of, and which is coming through nice and lively on this, which is very nice to see. Also a little bit like a cave. Let me break this down for you. It feels old. I don't know, if you've garage saled and estate saled as much as I have, you've smelled some pretty weird things, especially when you're trying to go off the beaten path, go to the attic and find the $1 million thing that you never find. That's what this smells like a little bit of like a cellar kind of attic type component on the nose, which I kind of like, and it's on the back end. Very unique and very interesting. Adds a nice little dimension to the nose. Let's give it a whirl. This wine has spectacular mouthfeel. I think a lot of people who just put this in their mouth are happy they did. It's silky, it's smooth, it's polished. Oak is helping it, but it's not over oaked. So, it has a very sexy, velvety kind of component to it, which, if you want to know the truth and the secret of wine retailing, when we find wines like this is what we buy, this is what we recommend, because 95% of the people out there drinking wine are looking for this. It's smooth, it's silky. Go to a wine shop and ask somebody what they're looking for. Something silky, yes, I know. So, this has very good polish, great roundness. It coats your palate extremely well. It's a little tight. It's got some really interesting like black licorice component flavor on the mid-palate transition to the finish, which I think is I'm very fond of, personally. It has a nice long finish. It is a little bit, for me, just a hair, I don't want to call it boring, maybe just like, 8/9, see where I went with this, 8/9 of the night, you really love this person. You wanted to have dinner with them once a month, and then you were like, oh, he said that. So, like that kind of thing. So, it has everything except that last little thing, just a little bit more. Remember this. Remember, only 9 out of 30. The vegetables were missing just a hair for me. I was like, where's the English peas? Give me just a hair of something else. For 100% Cabernet Franc, it sure feels a little Cabernet Sauvignon-like to me, which there's nothing wrong with. The polish and silkiness is going to make this wine pass and excite people for days. This, to me, for 85% of the wine-drinking public, is a 90-point wine. For me, this is an 89-point wine. It's missing the vegetables that I'm going to be attracted to, but once again, just my palate. And so you've got to trust yours. This is a very interesting wine to me. What's really racing through my mind while I do my thing in my other compartment over here is, what's going on with this wine? Can they pick a little earlier? Is it just a hair over oak? There's something going on here where I feel like, for my palate, which again is the minority of wine drinkers, that can really hit a home run, because the polish, the quality of the grapes here is extremely high. I really, really like the quality of the grapes. I had some really fresh pure squeezed cherry juice not too long ago. And this kind of reminds me of it as well. So a very, very good wine. Once again, scoring on my palate, that's where I'm at. But I have a dark horse feeling that the majority of people here, when I ask them after we're done taping, are going to lean towards this wine as being their favorite of tasting. Let's move on. Pearmund 2004 Cabernet Sauvignon. $25 US, or bones as I like to say. Let's give it a whirl, and let's give it a sniffy sniff. Now here's where I'd really get tricked in a blind tasting and everybody would say, he's a forest, because the last wine I probably would have went Cabernet Sauvignon, and this wine I might have been brought to thinking it might be a Cabernet Franc because I get quite a bit of greenness on the nose. Now I haven't tasted it yet, and that might save me, but I like the chalk dust aspect of this wine as well. I don't know if you've ever walked into a classroom and your friends think they're funny and they take the two erasers and you walk into the cloud of death, as we like to call it back in the day, but that's what I'm getting a little bit here. Really nice chalk dust component coming through. Some really good blackberry coming through as well. And I'm really picking up a really good sense of mulberry jam. How many people here have had mulberry? Raise your hand. Nice. And a little bit more than like vegetables. It's maybe 11. Mulberry, blackberry, chalk dust are really dominating here. I also get that greenness. I mean, I get a very heavy dose of bell pepper, like green bell pepper, which I think is extremely obvious and coming through on the nose. Now, the crowd is mainly dealing with, mostly you have glasses, some plastic cups, but that would make it a little bit more difficult. But you have glasses, so you may want to pour it in there, some of you that aren't using it. If you're allowed, sorry. Just kidding. Let's give it a whirl. It's Cabernet. This is what America's drinking. To me, when I taste this tastes like Jordan Cab, like Clos de Bois Cab, like a lot of Cabernet that I taste. Maybe even more from like Sonoma. I get a little bit more of a Sonoma love than I do Kenwood Cab, Ferrari Carano Cab. This is really oaked, black, red fruits, polished, kind of, once again, just the typical standard flavor of Cabernet, which in a lot of ways gets me excited because I'm going to kick of other 46, and I'm telling you right now, suckers, if I blind tasted you on this wine, all of you, yes, you too, dude, all of you, I'm telling you, you would not be like, oh, this is Virginia. You would think, oh, this is a Cabernet, if you'd even get that part. And you would just think that this is from a West Coast California type Cabernet. That being said, I think it's got good structure. I think it's extremely well made, and that's what's really popping out to me. I actually feel like, in comparison to the King family, you can see a real difference in quality of grapes from my standpoint. I think the King family stuff, what they had to work with, the raw produce, was extremely good. I think with this, you can see really a winemaker's hand coming through. I think the fruit drops off a little bit on the finish. It's fine, it's solid. To me, this is an 88-point type Cabernet. I think it's good. 25 bones, I'm not gonna run out and go buy it like I bought my Brett Favre jersey immediately, but it's still something that is serviceable. Again, once again, proving across the board, we have not had clunker city here at all. The concern becomes QPR, right? Quality price ratio. Are you willing to pay the price for what you're getting in return? That becomes the challenge for so many people outside of the big markets where they have the infrastructure to really save on costs. Good stuff. Solid cab. Little black licorice on the back end, little greenness, good tannins, still a young wine. I think it still has a little ways to go, and pretty good stuff. And I'm dying to, I love the great breakdown in this last wine. Now you always find when you do dessert wines at tastings, when I used to do a lot of wine dinners, everybody always loved the dessert wine. 95% of that reasoning was because everybody was cocked by the end of the night. And then they got something, that was sweet, and they were eating chocolate cake, which made everybody happy. And so, dessert wines have always, and you know I've said it many times on the Thunder Show, I feel dessert wines are overrated globally, that way too many critics struggle to rate dessert wines because they taste the sugar, and we all like a little sugar, and blah, blah, blah. So, but this is really interesting. I like the, where they're going with this. This is the Grange 2006 Snort. 17.6% alcohol content, another reason a lot of people like dessert wines. And this wine rolls in at $29 US, which is a tremendous number, considering that is the number of Leon Washington, star backup running back for New York Jets. You should grab him late in your fantasy rounds. He's going to have a huge year. Anyway, 67% Touriga Nacional, 33% Tannat. Tannat being the grape that I adore from the Mataron in France. Touriga Nacional, doing a lot of damage in the Portugal, Spain areas. So really, really dynamite, excited about tasting this. I will go along and be like every other wine critic and probably overscore this wine because they're delicious. Let's give it a sniffy sniff. Smells like port. Classic, intense, really focused, ripe, over the top, little brandy on the side, kind of like, give me some really blackberry jam, blueberry jam, stuff it in my mouth, let me swallow it, and then take a quick shot of brandy. That's what this smells like. It's okay, admit it. Let me smell a little more. There's also a little bit like a raspberry custard thing going on the back end. Oh, you like that, Mott? I saw your eyebrows. You like the raspberry custard, big guy. I like that coming through. And, a little bit of that classic. I don't know if you guys remember this. When I worked for my dad's liquor store when I was 14 during the holidays, we'd always get in those candies, right? It was like a little chocolate candy and had like liquor inside of it. And it was like $4, but people bought it anyways. It's crazy. Anyway, and you ever eat one of those, I'd be like, oh, candy. And then you taste it and like, oh, what's that? And that's the liquor part. So you get a little bit of that kind of coming through because you get a lot of that fruit and you get a little bit of the fortified action on the back end. Let's give it a whirl. I mean, this is money in the bank, This is what they need to be producing more of because they'll sell it. Very well made, actually. I'm really quite impressed with the balance on this wine. A lot of times when you get into wines like this, especially outside of Porto, you get wines that are very hot and off balance. I think the structure and complexity of this wine is extremely fair. I get like a Hershey's bar component on the mid palate, which I love, and then they're just stuffing fresh red fruits down my mouth. Thank you very much. I appreciate. Really long finish. Really good balance. I mean, ultimately, this is a very good play for a dessert wine. 29 bones. Good price, fair price. I think to, some of the Grenache stuff that I've had from the Bonjour and the Rhone, which I love so much, rolling at this price, comparing it to that. To me, if you are a fan of chocolate desserts, pay attention, write this down. This is Pair Up City, hand in hand, peanut butter and jelly. That's what I'm talking about, a dessert wine that is fundamentally made for chocolate desserts. I'm a very big fan of this wine. I think they do a very good job, very much like the Ohio episode where their dessert wine scored big. Here we go again. This one is doing extremely well. To me, I still am probably most excited about the Viognier. I think this is very good. I think to me this is a 90-plus point dessert wine. I think it's absolutely fair and can stack up with a lot of wines that are dark and serious like this. To me, there's obviously the classic vintage ports are going to show a lot more dimensions than this. But other than that, I think this shows quite a bit of potential. And I think this program is something they need to continue to work on because I think it's got more upside. I like the ceiling, if you want to talk in like NFL draft terms. So a very good wine, and definitely to me, by far, these are two wines that stood out with, I've got to talk about the King family only because I know that's a situation where it's my palate scoring it lower than the masses. Question of the day. Mott said he likes Virginia. I said I didn't know. Now I do because there's such lovely people here. Here's my question for you. What's your favorite thing about Virginia? And if you haven't been, why not? Because you, with a little bit of me, and really nice folks like this, we're changing the wine world, whether they like it or not.